It's to this day one of the worst disasters to hit these waters.
There off the rocky South Wales coast lies the broken hulk of the 7,000-ton steamship Samtampa.
68 years ago, the American-built SS Samtampa was caught in a hurricane and ran aground off the coast of Porthcawl while en route from Newport to Middlesbrough. It broke into 3 pieces and all 39 crew lost their lives. Also, 8 brave members from Mumbles lifeboat died when their vessel, the Edward, Prince of Wales, upturned as they made a frantic attempt to save those on board the Samtampa. Now, with the 70th anniversary of the tragedy approaching, there's a campaign to erect a permanent memorial to those who lost their lives in 1947. Gary Victor hopes lottery money can be used to fund the memorial outside the RNLI station in Porthcawl.
We feel there should be a wider memorial that keeps the story and the valour of the men concerned alive, and new generations are inspired learning of the story of the Samtampa and the Edward, Prince of Wales.
Along the coast in Swansea Bay, the Mumbles lifeboat crew are still out, risking their lives to save others at sea. Today they have all the latest technology on board their brand new Tamar lifeboat. The 8 crewmen who died all those years ago did so in a 23-year-old boat with no radio and no deck. A plaque acts as a memorial to those courageous men at the lifeboat station on Mumbles Pier.
We can have the conversation with people who ask about the Samtampa because of that memorial that we have, as you say, the plaque. But yes, likely it would be brilliant over in Porthcawl if they could have something that the members of the public could have a conversation with crew about and to read about the disaster that took place in 1947.
Gary hopes he can secure funding in the next few weeks. His dream is to ensure the memory of those who lost their lives in this sea live on Porthcawl's shoreline. Dean Thomas, ITV News, Porthcawl. It's almost 70 years ago, one of the worst shipping disasters in UK history happened off the coast of South Wales.
There off the rocky South Wales coast lies the broken hulk of the 7,000-ton steamship Samtampa.
On the 23rd of April 1947, the SS Samtampa broke into pieces on rocks in Porthcawl, killing all 39 crew on board. In gale force conditions, 8 crew members from Mumbles RNLI also lost their lives, bravely trying to rescue the stricken seamen. It's a tragedy that's lived with the people of Porthcawl and surrounding villages ever since, and they've come together one last time to recount their memories of that fateful night. Those who remember the ship sinking and the events after it met in Kenfig Hill to share their experiences.
We saw the wrecks on the rocks, the pieces of the boat, and the lifeboat just right close to the boat.
On the night the SS Samtampa sank, Captain Howell Phillips was 19 and sailing on an oil tanker just up the coast from the vessel. He remembers their first SOS calls.
It upsets everybody. Our first reaction to anything as merchant seafarers is to rescue other seafarers in distress. It was far too far away, and we wouldn't have been able to get in so close, or close enough to be of any assistance.
Brian Davis was just 9 years old when he and his dad ran to the shore at Sker Point to try and help the sailors after learning of the Samtampa's struggle against the winds and high seas.
We could see by this time the ship was up on the rocks, and we could see the crew hanging onto the mast, and whatever they could hang on to, they began to panic and started to jump off. And as we got there and got out of the car and we laid on the bank, a lot of people then had arrived, and the Coast Guards arrived, and they were shouting at them to stay on. But they panicked and jumped off, and of course by that time it had split open, the ship had split open and the oil had come out. So they just jumped off straight into the oil, and of course they couldn't swim.
Dilwyn Thomas was 19 and a local farmer at the time of the tragedy. He, along with 4 other men, had to retrieve the sailors and lifeboat men from the beach the next morning.
After the tide went back out, we went down and we gathered all these bodies off the beach, brought them up onto the field where the ambulance picked them up, took them away and washed them all in paraffin or something because they were smothered in oil. every bit of it has stayed with me, really, you know, even down to the shepherd telling me that that boat was in trouble, like.
The SS Samtampa never made it to Newport, its intended final stop. Instead, Porthcawl became the final resting place for many of the sailors on that ship. The community still remembers, though. For now, the stories of that tragic night live on. Dean Thomas, ITV News.